The Biden budget proposal is here. Now, before I tell you what's in it, I want you to understand there's almost no chance this entire proposal is going to become law. Parts of it could certainly become law, but not all of it. If you want to know why that is, you can watch this video from yesterday. Overall, the White House says this budget will cut the deficit by about $3 trillion over the next 10 years. It includes one of the largest budget allocations for the military ever, at more than $840 billion, and includes a 7% increase to non-defense spending. The budget says all that spending would be paid for with the $4.5 trillion in new revenue brought in, primarily through tax hikes for corporations and the wealthy, and by reining in wasteful federal spending. Because this budget proposal is 182 pages long, I'm just going to run down a list of some of the key proposals as fast as I can. Honestly, I could do a full video on each of these items, so just let me know in the comments if one of them is particularly interesting to you, and I may expand on it in a separate video. So, in no particular order, here we go. It puts a 25% minimum tax on billionaires. The budget specifically says it applies to those with a net worth of more than $100 million. The tax increase would affect 0.01% of the wealthiest Americans. It increases the corporate tax rate. Currently, it's at 21%. Biden wants to make it 28%. It would repeal parts of the 2017 Trump tax cuts and increase the top tax rate from 37% to 39.6% for single American taxpayers who make more than $400,000 a year and couples who make more than $450,000 a year. It would eliminate the specialty tax subsidy for crypto investors that aren't subject to the same rules that stock investors have to follow. The White House says that would add about $24 billion to the pot. It eliminates tax subsidies for oil and gas companies, adding about $31 billion to the pot. It expands the child tax credit for those who qualify. This would raise the credit from $2,000 per child aged 6 and older to $3,000 per child, and raise it to $3,600 per child under the age of 6. This is not a monthly child tax credit payment. It would establish a national paid family and medical leave program, including 12 weeks of leave for eligible employees. It would expand the subsidies for those who have medical insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It would allocate more than $10 billion to enable states to increase child care options for working families. It caps the price of insulin at $35 a month for all Americans, not just the ones on Medicare. It allocates $59 billion in mandatory funding and tax incentives to increase the affordable housing supply across the country. It would increase the funding for Pell Grants so students who qualify would get an extra $500 on top of what they're already getting, and add $500 million in a new discretionary grant program to provide 2 years of free community college. $4.1 billion would be allocated to expand the Home Energy Assistance Program for low-income Americans. $15 billion would go to states and schools to offer about 9 million more kids free school meals. It would fund a federal and state partnership to provide high-quality universal free preschool. It expands the solvency of the Medicare Trust Fund for at least another 25 years without cutting benefits or raising costs for beneficiaries. It would also allow Medicare to negotiate the cost of more prescription drugs, which would save about $200 billion. And $1.4 billion would go to improving services at Social Security. If you've made it this far, good for you. Now we have to wait and see what Congress proposes, specifically the Republican-controlled House. So if you want to see the president's budget or any of the programs I just talked about, make sure you're signed up for my Newsgirl News Roundup email. I'll send all of that out to you tonight.